Everybody's got a list of bottle regrets, and today I pulled together a list of 5 with a few honorable mentions of the worst bottles that I've bought thus far in my bourbon collecting journey. Welcome back to another episode of Neat Bourbon. My name's Tanner, and today I've got a little bit of a different video for you guys because we're going to be discussing the 5 worst bottles that I've bought thus far. I do a fair amount of research on all my bottles before I buy them to try to make sure that I'm going to be enjoying the bottle that I bought. But these bottles today, I don't know, just didn't jive with me. So I actually don't have the bottles I'm going to be discussing in this video. And the reason being, usually when I get a bottle that is just like really off-putting to me, I have friends over for tastings and then someone else enjoys it, I'll just give them the bottle. Because I mean, you can look behind me, I have plenty of open bottles as is, and if I have a bottle that I just don't like and I know I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to let it take up shelf space for me, because I want to have a bottle that I do want to drink on my bar. So anyways, we're going to go get into the first one. The first one is the Old Elk Double Wheat. So now, I think this was released last year in 2022. I watched a review from the Whiskey Tornado, and he just said that bottle was legendary. And I trusted his opinion. I've bought bottles before off of his recommendation. And it was, he said going to be one of his bourbons of the year or whiskeys of the year. So I went out, hunted it, bought it. It was like a $100 bottle. That bottle is a combination of a 100%, I believe it's 100% wheat whiskey, and then it's also their wheated bourbon. I think the mash bill comes out to like 71% wheat, 25% corn, and 3.5% malted barley. Anyway, for me, the wheat flavors that you get from like a Buffalo Trace product, like all those sweet wheat flavors, that was not the case in the Old Elk Double Wheat. The wheat notes were so sharp, it was so grain forward for me, and it was just very off-putting, and it tasted like I was drinking a glass of like wheat grains. So I was pretty let down by that bottle. I had a buddy, came over, he enjoyed it, so I gave it away to him. So the next bottle on my list, bottle number 2, it's going to be the Starlight Sherry Finish. So Starlight does some amazing finished bourbons, and I do like a few other products like the Starlight Double Oak. That bottle's awesome. So I figured I would give the sherry finish a shot. That bottle comes in in that like $60 to $70, maybe $80 range, in between there. They are cask strength, around that 115 proof mark. But to me, like the sherry note really was way too strong for me. It tasted like an overfinished bourbon. And like it almost had like a bitter sherry like flavor there, and it honestly kind of like scarred my palate, I think, from like the sherry being so strong. And an example of that is I used to like the Angel's Envy, just the normal one. That is a sherry finished bourbon, or sherry finished whiskey, I should say. And after having that Starlight and like trying to choke down that bottle, I got through about like a third of it before I ultimately gave it away. The Angel's Envy. Now that bottle kind of has a little bit of off-putting note. Granted, the sherry finish on the Angel's Envy is way more muted, but I still pick it up, and it kind of like still bothers me to this day. So I've even given away just my regular Angel's Envy. My brother's a big fan of that bottle, so I gave that one away for him. So second bottle, was the Starlight Sherry Finish. So moving into the third bottle tonight. It's going to be the Angel's Envy Rye. So that's the one finished in the Caribbean rum casks. And to me, the finish, again, on that bottle is just so strong. And honestly, the viscosity on that bottle to me is like thick and syrupy. Like it doesn't even like taste like a whiskey since it's like so thick. It has like the viscosity of something close to like a Fireball, in my opinion. And I'm not a huge rum guy. I do have a couple bottles, and I don't know. I think that rum to me is just way too sweet, in my opinion. And I was getting so much sweetness off that Angel's Envy Rye that I just couldn't have it. I mean, it was a $100 bottle. I think I bought it gosh, like during playoff football in like 2021, father-in-law was up. He loves that bottle, so I was happy to give that bottle away to him. Because I definitely wasn't gonna drink it anymore. Even tried to have that Angel's Envy Rye over ice. Thought that watering it down, might lessen the viscosity there and like thin out the bourbon and tame down all that sweetness. But it was still just too sweet for my palate, so I had to give it away. We're going to bottle 4. So bottle 4, I've actually had, I bought 2 of these, and I've had 3 different ones. These are the Whistle Pig Farmhouse stock. Now, I do like Whistle Pig. The Whistle Pig 10-year, I think is great. I'm a big fan of that. Strong rye punch there. And it's the Whistle Pig 12-year. That bottle's kind of expensive. It's only 80 proof. But for like an easy sipping rye, I think that the Whistle Pig 12 is an awesome bottle. And that was kind of like one of the bottles I'd be like someone that said like they didn't like whiskey or they didn't like rye. The Whistle Pig 12, because it was like such an easy drinker and like smooth because of the lower proof, and I do think it still delivered a fairly robust like flavor palette, for being an 80 proof. It does kind of suck that bottle is like $145 though. But regardless, it was a great bottle for me to give, share with friends, and I've gone through that bottle now. Still have the 10, but the Farmhouse stock, or I guess from the success that I had with the 10 and then the 12-year, I figured I'd give the Farmhouse stock a try. Picked it up, I think it was like $85 or something like that. And from my understanding, the Farmhouse stock is, Whistle Pig's own distillate. And it, they're trying to like blend together rye and bourbon. And to me, all the palate was way too sharp, way too many peaks and valleys. It wasn't rounded at all. The rye notes were super sharp. There's either like a really strong mint or like bitter sweetness on there. It just didn't jive with my palate at all. And I was, again, I really liked the 10 and I liked the 12. And I was like, maybe I just got a bad bottle. So like the next year came by and I tried another Farmhouse stock, bought it again, wasted $80 again. So that was $160 that I spent in like 2 years on Whistle Pig Farmhouse stocks. Absolutely, terrible. I even tried, mixing them with Coke because I was just trying to get through the bottle because I was just, so disappointed in it. But again, my brother really liked them, so gave both the bottles away to my brother. So we're gonna go into my 5th bottle, and I think this one's gonna be controversial because this one's like pretty well loved. But I'm gonna go with the Woodford Double Oaked. Now, the Double Oaked is a flavor bomb, and the brown sugar sweetness that comes across. I don't get too much like oak flavor, but like it's like the toasted flavors are so rich and desserty on that bottle. It comes across thick again, very similar to how that Angel's Envy Rye that we talked about earlier. Very similar to that bottle in terms of like the viscosity and being overly sweet. I'm just not a fan of those overly sweet bourbons, and that Woodford Double Oak to me kind of delivers on being overly sweet. So I even picked up the Double Oaked when I was at Woodford, the distillery, 2 years ago. I bought a 375 bottle of it, and I probably had like 4 pours out of it. And then, one of my buddies was over. He couldn't believe I was giving it away because he was such a big fan. But, gave that bottle away to him, happy camper. So all is well there. So guys, in conclusion, the 5 bottles that we discussed today, we had the Old Elk Double Wheat, the Starlight Sherry Finish, we had the Angel's Envy Rye, any of the Whistle Pig Farmhouse stocks, and then the Woodford Double Oaked. Now, I know a lot of people do like bourbons. I know especially the Woodford Double Oaked is, highly touted as, some of the best stuff that Woodford makes. Again, I'm just not a fan of that overly sweet palate. Just because I don't like these doesn't mean that you won't. But I did want to share the bottles that, in my opinion, just are some of the worst bottles that I've personally bought, and I'm definitely not going to be buying them again. But anyways, let me know in the comments down below, like what are the bottles that don't jive with your palates? What are the bottles that you wish you had your money back from? Love to hear from you, because it really kind of helps me sculpt the next bottles that I'm looking to bring into the bar. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this content. If you did, would you consider giving me a like? Would you consider subscribing? And as always, this is Neat Bourbon. My name's Tanner. And pop the bottles and share the pours. And we'll see you in the next one.